Hey there, podcast listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of What's Your Brand Story. I'm your host, Dills Victoria, as always. You're listening to this podcast, so I know that you're still alive and kicking it well. So, as always, give gratitude. I was actually on TikTok the other day, and I always talk about this because I feel like it's important. The person on the TikTok was saying, instead of saying, I am grateful, to start saying, I feel grateful, to get into the feeling of what gratitude is for you. So that's something that I always want to remind my podcast listeners to implement in their daily life, since from the time they wake up to the time you go to sleep. Feel gratitude, feel empowered, feel wonderful, feel amazing, feel joy, feel all those things, because we are actively manifesting all day, every day, good or bad. So I wanted to bring on this amazing, a beautiful woman. She is powerful in her own right. Thank you, Nicole Harvick, for jumping on the podcast with me. She is a quantum energy healer. I know a little bit about quantum leaping, but I just wanted to bring you on to talk a little bit more about what you do and who you are, and anything else that you want to share that your spirit is feels compelled to share. So thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you.
Well, I'm so excited that you invited me because quantum energy healing is just my absolute passion. So I'm very grateful that I'm here to talk about that today.
Absolutely. So can you tell us who Nicole is and how this journey started for you?
I will. I will. My name's Nicole Harvick. I am from South Carolina. And my journey, I've been kind of an intuitive and a healer all my life. But how this really kicked in was, gosh, it's been over 10 years ago now that I found out my husband was having an affair. And it was very, very painful. And I'm just gonna be brief about it. As you can imagine, it was heartbreaking. But the way I found out was my daughter, who was in sixth grade at the time, her
Mm.
iPod Touch was synced with his iPhone, and she received all the information, which includes,
Wow.
yeah, exactly, texts, sex, and pictures. So, it's bad enough when you find out that that is happening, but when you find out through a little girl, your little girl, it's even more devastating. And so, as this progressed with thinking that, I need to heal myself, I need to help myself, I ended up getting sicker and sicker. And
Mhm.
what happened was I took so many. I have certificates that could line a wall, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but quantum energy healing, quantum cellular memory, and sound therapy. I'm a Reiki master. I mean, you name it, I did everything, but I did it to heal myself. I really wanted to heal myself. And it worked. I was feeling better, but I knew I wasn't quite healing as quick or as much as I wanted to, because my hair was falling out and I
Oh
would just
man.
scratch my skin until I would bleed. And I thought, man, what is going on? What is going on? And what I found out was I was missing the component of forgiveness.
Mm.
I was missing forgiveness, and I didn't really understand forgiveness. There were really no classes to take. I thought you had to take a class to learn anything, and so you had that piece of paper saying I can do this. But forgiveness isn't like that at all. And so I really started studying it, and
Mhm.
how I really learned was Ho'oponopono.
Oh my goodness, I love Ho'oponopono. I know
I
exactly what that is.
I was given that gift on a trip to Hawaii, actually. I had
Mhm.
never heard of it, and went to the islands and made an offering to the islands and fed a
Oh.
stray, which turned out to be a bird that I thought a dog, but it turned out to be a bird. And then when I came back, I just saw this word everywhere. I didn't even see it in Hawaii. I literally saw it, in Arizona, of all places, where there's no water. And I just thought, well, it's interesting. And I heard my guides tell me, just try it. Just try
Mhm.
it. And I started every night, I would say it over and over and over, just when I went to bed and then when I woke up in the morning. And, within a week, I started feeling better. And I'm like, I don't know why, but what I learned is forgiveness is for me. It's
Mhm.
totally for me. I don't even, you know, I'm not going to take on that burden my ex placed on me and carry that with me because it's not mine to bear. So I forgave him, and then I just started forgiving everybody, including myself. I had to forgive myself, for not standing up for myself, for not speaking my truth, for not using my voice. And it honestly, I really think it saved my life.
Hmm. I can relate to everything you just said, except for the cheating part, because I was in a very, very detrimental, crazy, narcissistic, abusive relationship a year ago, and I was in it for a whole year. And the person I was with, we both were introduced to Ho'oponopono as well as different things. And like you said, forgiveness is for you. And I had to learn that that relationship didn't define who I was, and also that's not my responsibility to take on another person's stuff, and to be able to sit with myself and give myself permission to allow my own heart to break so I could mend it all over again after that whole situation. And going through the process of a Ho'oponopono and doing that, because I also have like sleep meditation with Ho'oponopono
Mhm.
that I play from time to time that helps me with that as well. And I learned that through her, even though it was narcissistic. It's crazy how I was able to learn different things from that relationship that I implement into my life, with, that, and just the spiritual aspect of who I am as a person. So I completely relate to everything that you're saying. It resonates more
Well,
than
I'll tell you, I relate to the narcissist part because I was married to one for 25 years, and it's
know.
very, very painful.
It is
It's
painful, and a lot
very
of people don't
painful.
understand how it's kind of like weighs on your soul to some level. Like I tell my girlfriend that I'm with right now, like a narcissistic relationship and a breakup after a narcissistic relationship is like the most hardest thing, because it's not a normal relationship and it's not a normal breakup. And so I didn't realize how much I was triggered emotionally, how much I was triggered spiritually, how much I was triggered mentally. And so certain things, like we would have certain conversations or disagreements, and instantaneously, it's like it took me right back in my brain.
Yes. Yes, it's really an interesting disease, if you want to call it that, because I didn't even know that I was in that relationship. I just thought he was horrible. But when I got out of it and started reading about that whole journey, I'm like, check, check, check.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you try everything to say the right thing, to do the right thing, to be that person, but you never will be. You never will be. And when I read the Four Agreements,
Mm.
that one of yours too, because the one that just kick started me was take nothing personally.
Yeah.
Take nothing personally. And when I realized that was never about me, that was about him,
Mm-hmm.
then I really started understanding more about it. But I will tell you a quick story, is because before all that happened, I knew I was getting sick. I told you about the,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother, who had divorced my dad like 25 years prior, she got sick with breast cancer.
Oh
And
man.
I thought, oh my gosh, and she had always told me, I've forgiven your father. I've let it go. I released it a long time ago. But she was at my house when she was sick. And about 3 or 4 days before she passed away, she looked at me and she says, he slept with all my friends,
Oh
talking
my
about my
God.
dad, which I knew there was cheating. I was a full on adult, but she said she forgave him. She never had. And what you have to understand is, when you're carrying those emotions of pain and grief and anger and all those dense energies, what's inside has to manifest on the outside. And hers was cancer. And it was really, my mother was my biggest epiphany, that no man is going to do that to me.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%. Agreed. 100%. So how does quantum energy healing work for you? Like, what was that transformation like for you when it came to what you experienced? And I wanted to give you your flowers, as we say, and celebrate you for leaving such a toxic situation and being able to rise up above it and become the person that you are. So I just wanted to celebrate you in that moment.
Thank you. Thank you. And as I reflect back with the person I become, I realize it didn't happen to me, it happened for me, or
Mhm.
we would not be having this conversation right now.
Absolutely. Agreed 100%. I have to remind myself that too, because there's moments in time I'm like, I just wish that she would just trip and fall and chip her tooth.
Yes, mine was way more than a tooth, but
But you get it. You get the gist.
I absolutely get it. I absolutely get it. And quantum means many different things, but how I utilize it is I truly believe that we live in the past, present, and future all at
At the
once.
same time. Oh my goodness. You
At
speak
the
my
same,
language.
yeah, at the same time. And I've had crossovers into other dimensions where I've existed. And one example is I've never, even this shirt is a little bit too high, but I can never have anything on my neck.
Mm.
And I knew that in another life I saw myself in another life. I had stolen something, and I was in a dungeon. This is like in France in the 1700s, and I had a metal
Oh,
clasp around
wow.
my neck. But one night, this is before I had gotten the divorce. I was living at our old house, and all of a sudden I felt something grab my neck, and I just sat up and I went I just gasped,
Oh,
and I was being choked to death in another version of me in another dimension.
oh,
And
wow.
that has been a reoccurring thing even since I was a young girl, pulling things off my throat. And, I can remember people getting me turtlenecks as gifts. It's like, no, I can't even wear necklaces, I can't wear anything touching my neck.
Hmm.
So that carries forward with you from quantum existence somewhere in another dimension. But when I work with my clients, what I do is when you have trauma in you, to get rid of it, you can talk about it all you want with anybody, but you have to physically expel it from your body.
Hmm.
So we have to find the root. And sometimes the root can be, my trauma was from my ex. I had to get rid of all of that. But as I went back, I started finding, the lineage. My lineage had trauma that carried forward.
Hmm.
So oftentimes when I work with clients, if they're like a little bit stuck, we go back to being in utero. We go back one life before, two lives before. And eventually we find it and release it. And then I truly believe all healing must start with forgiveness.
I agree with that 100%. And it should be the easiest thing in the world for us to do is to forgive. But it's like the hardest fucking thing that people have a hard time with. Like, because I forgiven such and such, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, okay. Because I had a hard time with that too. I had the only hardest time forgiving myself to beat
Yes.
myself up because of things that I did, or, and taking responsibility of, okay, you put yourself in the situation, you made a choice, and having to like no longer feel guilty about it and forgive myself, for the part that I played, and forgive the person too, and learn how to move on from it instead of holding on to it. Because even though sometimes we say we forgive, we still hold on to the grudges and we don't know how to let go. And we're still thinking about the memories of what happened and what should have happened and so on and so forth. And it's just like a vicious cycle.
It's hard. It's very, very hard. And as women, I think we're even harder on ourselves because we've been conditioned to be a mother figure or perfect, or you have to be kind, you have to be nice to people. So we've got all this conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
that keeps us silenced, if
Yeah.
you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are harder on ourselves sometimes than we're harder on others. And mine was, well, I should have done this, or I didn't do that, or I should. It's and not understanding the whole time. It wouldn't have mattered what I did.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to have the same reactions to me.
Yep.
But it's very, very interesting when you finally do release and you understand that forgiveness is truly the best thing you can do for yourself and others. Because when to be in forgiveness, you really release the ego.
Mm-hmm.
You really release your ego at that point. And when you release that ego, you start elevating. You start rising in your vibration, in your frequency. And when you forgive yourself, you finally come to a place of self-love, which
Mhm.
I never knew was possible. I mean, I loved my kids. Love my parents, love my dog,
Mhm.
sometimes more than anybody, but that's beside the point. But then I realized, why haven't you ever loved yourself? Or, so I started doing mirror work, like
Mhm.
looking in and saying, I love you. And you know, you shouldn't have to convince yourself of that, but sometimes you do. And it's just that little tweak of your mindset that you're not a bad person. And
Mhm.
I realized that I did the best I could at that time with the information I had.
Absolutely. Agreed 100%. And I did mirror work as well. And at one point, I just used to stand and just be like, I love my body, even though I have a flat butt. I love my body, even though my boobs are like astronomically big. And having to appreciate, embrace, and embody all of who I am as a spiritual being walking on this planet in real time. And the thing that you said that I say all the time, and I tell people, is like we're all living in the past, present, and future
It
all at
was.
the same time.
Hmm.
And people look
That's
at me
why
like
we
I'm
have deja
crazy.
vus real quick. We're jumping in and out
Yes.
of timelines.
Yeah, and they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, let me explain this to you. When you think about the past, you get emotional in real time. And everything that you're doing right now, you're doing it because you're trying to figure out the future. So you're living in all three at the same time. And they're like, oh, okay, okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense. So,
Yeah, it's interesting. And then, for me, I actually have jumped in timelines in
wow.
in terms of I will give you just a quick story. My daughter had moved out, my youngest, and had gone to Hawaii for
Hmm.
school. So she
Hmm.
was nowhere near my house. Well, she left me a kind of, not kind of, but a very dirty bedroom that she had stayed in. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go clean it up. So I
Hmm.
wrenched on it all day. And the last thing I did was line up all her tennis shoes. She loves tennis shoes. So I
Hmm.
lined everything up in her room, about 15 pairs. And I was just like, I'm like so proud of myself. And I shut the door. And I'm the only one living there now. It's just me. And so the next morning I got up and I made my tea. I have tea every morning. And I went and sat down and was going to read something. And I looked over by the door and a pair of her Vans were there.
Hmm.
And I'm like, those weren't there last night. I put everything away.
Wow.
And so I have this mentor, Julia, my friend. I said, Julia, I got to tell you. She goes, oh, yeah. She goes, that's happening on another timeline somewhere. You just crossed into that timeline.
What's your mentor's last name?
Julia Conrad.
Okay, because I have a spiritual mentor. Her name is Julia
Oh,
Harrell. I thought it
how interesting. Yeah, but yes, or I'll be driving. I've had this happen numerous times. I'll just be driving and I'll look around. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. One really interesting time is when I was heading home. I was getting off the freeway, and where I lived, the first turn was just like two hospitals, all medical buildings, commercial medical buildings. But when I got off and turned left to go home, I looked around. I'm like, I'm in a neighborhood. I'm in a residential neighborhood that I've never seen in my life.
wow.
And so I had to stop at a stoplight, and all I said is, I don't know how to get home. How do I get home? And all I heard was go the back way. And I
Wow.
knew I crossed the road and I knew how to go the back way to get to my house. So I literally have crossed dimensional timelines.
I feel like I've done that too. In certain instances in my life when I became more aware of myself and in tune with my spirit, I can feel certain things. Like 2 weeks ago, I sell jewelry in the park, and it was a Saturday, and my spirit was not connected to that park anymore. I come to find out that they may be turning the park into a private park, and so all of the vendors and crafters will have to eventually leave the park. But
Hmm.
my spirit guides was setting me up to say, okay, preparation. It's time for you to move elsewhere with your jewelry and the things that you're doing. And then one of the other vendors, she's been there for a long time. She's like, yeah, it's time for us to move locations. And I was like, oh damn. So I completely resonate with everything that you're saying.
And they will. You will be told or you will feel it, but
Yeah.
it's always when you are in this fifth dimensional existence, it's always for the greater good.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that.
It's
So
always a step up.
let me ask you, what sets you apart from everyone else that does what you do, and what is that unique quality about you?
I honestly, I think I have a lot of unique qualities because, first of all, I've experienced everything I help people through. There's not one thing that I've taken on or learned about that I haven't gone through myself.
Hmm.
And what's happening now is I've actually had a DNA upgrade. And I've had a really rough weekend because everything was activated this weekend.
Hmm.
And I had to release a lot of energy that I didn't feel in my carbon-based body.
Hmm.
Well, when we become crystalline and lighter, we feel it. So, I've experienced the need for forgiveness. I've experienced the need for healing. I have been cheated on. I've been with the narcissist. I've had a DNA upgrade. I've crossed timelines. I could go on, but I really don't like to try to tell people I can heal you, help you heal, or get rid of your trauma unless I myself have gone through it, because then I resonate with it.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna say absolutely. I'm gonna say absolutely because I'm the same way too when it comes to working with my clients. Because I feel like if I've gone through it, I know exactly how to help you, how to guide you, how to empower you. I know the right words
Right.
to say. I know how to tap into the emotions and bring out whatever it is that you're trying to figure out so hard, and you get frustrated how to articulate this message, and I'm able to articulate the message on your behalf because I've been you.
Yes, exactly. And because I have that intuition, which I know you do too, I
Yep.
can see into that body or feel
Yeah.
around or guide them to where I never say this is it, but what do you feel about this? I never put any kind of suggestion into their head. I guide, but I let them find it.
Hmm.
And then we work on it. But I've actually been working on people, and because of the our lineage coming forward with us, we've had to delve into past lives. And I
Yeah.
remember seeing one lady. I said, you know what? I said, you were in Scotland. I said, it was like a war, that one of your own people attacked you from behind. I said, and they stabbed you right here. She goes, oh my God, that's where my cancer is.
Oh
Well,
wow.
I mean, I can't know that stuff. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Have you seen the Netflix show as a series called Another Self?
I just heard about it the other day.
Yeah.
Someone told me to watch that.
Yeah, season one and season two, and you would love it so much. It's definitely what we're talking about. Another
Okay.
Self, and it has subtitles because it's I don't know if it's in the Middle East or somewhere like that, but it's three women that are friends, and they go through this process of transformation and actually going back into time with a I guess I would call him a shaman, and he introduced them to family constellation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a great show to watch, and if you've never heard about family constellation, definitely research it. It's pretty much powerful. Where it's a the facilitator brings in people who are empaths and intuitives. They don't know nothing about the client's story, and then one by one, they pick up the spirit of the person's grandmother, great grandmother, and then they play a significant experience that the grandmother went through that the person or the client is actually experiencing to get to the root of the problem and root of the issue and how to help that person.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
called
will
family
definitely.
constellation.
Okay, I will
So once
definitely
you,
look that up.
yeah, so Another Self, season one and two, you'll definitely love that. It's a great series to watch. I just started watching season two the other day because I loved it so much. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do that. So
Wow, that's crazy. That
yeah.
now, have you astral traveled as well? Have you
Yes.
done? Yeah, so do I. So
Mm-hmm.
do I. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I've been through Dark Night of the Soul, shadow
Uh,
work, met up with the ancestors, connected. I'm actually the daughter of goddess Isis, Egyptian goddess Isis. That is my spiritual mother. She named me Phoenix. I was Phoenix for a while as a high priestess. I practiced as a high priestess. And I felt like that was for a season, but this is my thing where I'm like intuitively helping people with their brand story and helping them to show their authentic selves and the things that they've been through and how powerful they are through their story. That's
And
that's
the word you use, authentic, is so important right now, because just by the way society is, we've been so conditioned to be
Mhm.
what they want us to be, or
Yep.
what you see on commercials or TVs, or social media, and there's no authenticity to it, and you can feel it.
Yeah, that's why I always empower my clients to share their life story, the things that they go through on a daily basis, and share how their products and services has transformed their lives. And also be vulnerable and real when you're going through something. Like, say, for instance, if you were going through something emotionally and mentally, how does quantum energy help you at that moment in time? And to showcase that in reels and videos, as opposed to showcasing like, okay, well, everything is perfect and happy in my world and it's not. By being so fucking real and true about, because I do that too sometimes. I could be like, guys, the imposter syndrome is hitting me hard today, and I'm over here retraining the brain and the mindset and talking myself off the motherfucking ledge. Who else is going through this shit? Because I know I am.
And everybody's like, pick me. Yeah, because it's just, sometimes you do, just to communicate with someone, have to put that foot in the third for a minute,
Yes,
and it's like, oh, I need to get back. But yeah, and I always tell people, authenticity is your superpower. Vulnerability is your superpower.
that
You,
part.
you just don't, you've been conditioned not to be. And for men too.
Yeah.
For
Your
men too.
sensitivity and your emotions is also part of your superpower. All of those
Absolutely.
things. So,
I
but
love
it
it.
was good having you on here. Oh my God, I could talk to you for days.
And we probably will. I know we'll
Yes,
have another
we will.
conversation.
So, can you tell everyone where to find you, how to work with you, all of those amazing things? I mean, I'm actually going to add all that to the description box on YouTube and Spotify, but I wanted to share for you to share that information.
And you know what I did, because I'm getting older, I made everything so easy for myself. I'm branding me Nicole Harvick. So you can
There you
find me
go.
on, yeah, I know. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on LinkedIn, and all under Nicole Harvick. And my website is NicoleHarvick.com.
Awesome.
So
Good
if you
stuff.
can remember that name, you will find me.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate you more than you ever know. Like, you're gonna become my kindred sister. We're gonna be on the phone like, girl,
What
did
do
you
you
feel
think
that
of this?
Aquarius energy today?
Absolutely. You know what? When we find our tribe, we have to stick with them.
I agree 100%. 100%. Thank you again. So, thank you so much,
Thank you.
podcast listeners, for tuning in to another episode. I hope that you love this episode. Go catch the replay, have a notebook and pen, like I always say, because my guests always just drop the most amazing, powerful gems that you can implement in your life. And this is the basis of the podcast. And I hope that you guys have an amazing, amazing day. And until next time, bye.